All right, let's dive in. We're tackling AI in education today. You sent over this book, The Education Revolution Through Artificial Intelligence.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating look at how AI is already changing things.
That's what I'm excited to dig into. What does all this AI buzz really mean for the future of learning, What's it all about?
Well, first, we have to define AI. The book defines it as machines doing things that humans typically do, like learning or problem solving, even being creative.
Okay, that makes sense. But I think what's so cool is that AI is already a part of our everyday lives. We might not even realize it, right?
Exactly. Think about those online shopping recommendations. Like when you're shopping online and suddenly, boom, there's that thing you didn't know you needed. That's AI at work.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I never really thought about it that way. It's analyzing all your purchases and everything.
It is. And what about in medicine? AI is helping with diagnoses, but there's a lot more to it. It's analyzing massive amounts of health data, leading to breakthroughs in research and personalized treatments. It's even being used to optimize food production and predict natural disasters. AI is everywhere.
Wow, okay. Yeah, that's incredible. So AI is everywhere. But the part that really grabbed my attention is AI in education. The book highlights 4 main ways AI is being used in teaching right now.
Yeah.
And the first one is how AI can teach knowledge and skills. It's like having a personal tutor for every student.
Right, exactly. It's that personalized learning experience that AI can make possible. Imagine a classroom where every student gets the exact level of challenge and support they need.
That's amazing. It would be fantastic to see that level of individual attention for all students. What else is AI doing in classrooms today?
Well, AI can handle a lot of the classroom tech.
Yeah.
Those moments when the projector decides to stop working or the audio is a mess, AI can manage all that.
Yeah.
And that frees up teachers to do what they do best, which is interacting with their students.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. Less time troubleshooting technology means more time for actual teaching.
Exactly. Another exciting application is in language learning. AI-powered systems can now understand and respond to natural language, making language learning way more interactive and immersive.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's not just about memorizing vocabulary lists anymore. It's about actually using the language in a meaningful way.
That's a game changer for language education. I remember how tedious those old textbooks and drills were. This sounds much more engaging. What was that 4th way AI is being used?
The 4th one might not seem as flashy, but it's something every teacher will appreciate. AI can help with lesson planning. AI can analyze curriculum standards, create outlines, and even suggest resources.
Oh, that's fantastic. That could save teachers so much time and energy. I know they're already overworked. Anything to help with that.
So we've talked about how AI is being used right now in education, but is this just a fad? Or are we really talking about the future of learning? I know the book brought up this thing called the Gartner hype cycle. Can you explain that and how it relates to AI in education? Sure. The Gartner hype cycle basically tracks how new technologies often go through these phases. First, there's a lot of hype, then disillusionment when those expectations aren't met, and finally, a realistic understanding of how the technology can actually be applied.
I get it. Like, remember 3D TVs?
Exactly.
They were hyped up as the next big thing, but they kind of fizzled out.
Exactly. So the question is, will AI in education follow the same path? Or is it different?
That's a great question. Is it different?
Well, the book argues that we need to be both excited and realistic about AI's potential in education. Learn from the past, like the overpromising of educational TV, and approach AI with a bit of healthy skepticism.
I like that cautious optimism. So listener, what do you think? Is AI in education a fad or the future? We want to hear your thoughts. Now, we can't talk about AI in education without talking about ChatGPT, right? It's been everywhere. How has this AI chatbot shaken things up? What insights does the book offer?
The book digs into both the concerns and the opportunities that ChatGPT brings up. It can handle complex tasks like essay writing and summarizing information, but there are concerns about teachers being replaced or students using it to cheat.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those headlines about students using ChatGPT for homework, which does make you wonder.
Sure. But the book emphasizes that ChatGPT can also be an amazing learning tool. The key is understanding its limitations and using it in a smart way.
So how do we use it effectively?
Think of it as a tool to brainstorm ideas, get feedback on writing, or explore different points of view.
So don't be scared of it. Learn to use it.
Exactly. Empower teachers and students to use these AI tools to make learning better, not to replace it altogether.
That makes sense. The book mentioned a study on student perceptions of ChatGPT that surprised me. Can you tell us about that?
Well, the study found that 69% of students were way too confident in ChatGPT's answers, even though the answers were only right between 39% and 88% of the time.
So students were trusting ChatGPT even when it was giving them wrong information.
Yeah, that's the thing. It emphasizes the importance of critical thinking skills. We can't just blindly trust AI. We need to evaluate information from every source, including AI.
So AI literacy is key in this new information age. It's not just about using AI, it's about understanding its limitations and biases.
Absolutely. We need to teach students to be savvy consumers of information in a world where AI is becoming more and more common.
Right. Okay, moving beyond the classroom, the book also looks at how AI is changing higher education. What are some of the key ways universities are being impacted?
One big area is the automation of tasks like grading, which could free up professors' time for research or mentoring students. However, there are concerns about bias in those algorithms and losing the personal feedback a human instructor can provide.
Yeah, it seems like there's a trade-off there.
The book also talks about how AI can personalize learning experiences for university students. AI can analyze learning patterns and tailor content and activities to individual needs.
Wow, that's really cool. Are there any examples of how this is being done?
Absolutely. The book mentions the Lola system at the University of Murcia in Spain. It's an AI virtual assistant that helps new students by answering questions about degrees, credits, and university processes.
So AI is already making a difference on campuses.
It is.
Before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to talk about AI's impact on research. The book delves into how AI is changing how research is done, especially in higher education.
Oh, yeah.
So how is AI changing the research game?
It's doing it in several ways. For instance, AI tools are now being used to analyze massive data sets, which would take humans forever to do manually. And this is leading to some incredible new discoveries, from medicine to climate science to social sciences.
It's like giving researchers superpowers.
It kind of is. AI can help researchers automate tasks like literature reviews, saving them a lot of time and effort. It can even help them write more clearly and effectively.
So AI is becoming a valuable research partner, making research work faster and smarter. But are there any downsides to using AI in research?
Well, we have to be cautious. One concern is that AI systems might perpetuate biases if they are trained on biased data.
Ah, the old garbage in, garbage out problem.
Exactly. Another worry is that AI could be used to manipulate or even fabricate research data, which would have a huge impact on scientific integrity.
That's a scary thought.
It is.
We need some serious ethical guidelines and safeguards for using AI in research.
Definitely. The book really emphasizes that the most effective research will likely be a collaboration between human researchers and AI tools, combining their unique strengths.
Finding that balance between human and artificial intelligence, working together to expand our knowledge.
Okay, so far in part one of our deep dive, we've covered the basics of AI and how it's already being used in teaching, learning, and research.
Yeah.
We even touched on some ethical considerations and potential pitfalls.
Right. It's a complex and rapidly evolving field. It is. But before we move on to part two, where we'll dig deeper into the ethical side of AI in education and explore some even more cutting-edge applications, I want to leave you with a question to think about. What do you think is the biggest potential benefit of AI in education? And what is your biggest concern?
We'll be back soon to tackle those questions and more, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we went to part two, we were talking about AI's impact on research and some of the things we need to be careful about.
Yeah, and AI is not only impacting how research is done, but also how future teachers are being prepared.
Oh, that's interesting. What are the up-and-coming teachers thinking about all this AI stuff?
Well, the book highlights this really interesting study done with education students at a Spanish university.
Okay.
And it turns out they have pretty mixed feelings about AI in the classroom.
Mixed feelings, huh? Tell me more about that.
Well, on the one hand, they see the potential benefits, especially for things like personalizing learning and giving students more individual feedback. They even like the idea of AI taking over some of the more tedious tasks like grading.
Oh, I bet. I mean, teachers have so much on their plates already.
Right. But on the other hand, some worry that relying too much on AI could stifle creativity in students.
That's a good point.
And others are concerned that AI evaluations could end up being unfair if the technology isn't used properly.
That's a valid concern for sure. It seems like they are trying to figure out how to balance the good stuff about AI with keeping that human touch in education, you know?
Exactly. And it's not just opinions. The study actually looked at how these future teachers are using AI right now in their own work.
Oh, that's interesting. And what are they using it for?
It turns out they're mostly sticking to the basics, like summarizing information or finding research articles, completing those simple tasks. They haven't really embraced the full potential of AI for teaching just yet.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it takes time to adjust to new technologies and really figure out how to use them well. AI is not going to magically transform education overnight.
It really won't. The authors of this study recommend a few things to better prepare these teachers for working with AI.
Okay, what kind of things?
Well, first, teacher training needs to focus on understanding student needs and how AI can help meet those needs.
That makes sense.
And then they also suggest more comprehensive training and support for teachers, not just like a one-time workshop, but ongoing support.
Okay, so give teachers the tools and the confidence to use AI effectively.
Exactly. Collaboration and sharing best practices is super important too.
Yeah, teachers learning from each other.
Right, especially when it comes to these new technologies. And lastly, ongoing reflection and evaluation are key. Don't just implement AI and hope for the best. Teachers need to be constantly looking at how it's impacting their students and making adjustments along the way.
Right, so it's like an ongoing process.
It is. Which makes sense because AI is constantly evolving, so our approach to using it in education needs to evolve too.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And this brings us to another really important topic, AI literacy. And not just for teachers, but for everyone. So what does that even mean, AI literacy?
It means understanding what AI is, how it works, what it can and can't do. Being able to evaluate information that comes from AI, recognizing potential biases, and using AI tools responsibly.
So it's kind of like media literacy, but for this AI age.
Exactly. Just like we teach students to think critically about the information they get from books, TV, and the internet, we have to do the same thing for information they get from AI.
That's a great comparison. It makes me think, just like media literacy has become so important in the world today, AI literacy is probably going to be just as important going forward.
Yeah, the book actually argues that AI literacy is essential for being an informed citizen in the 21st century. We're surrounded by AI. We need to understand it if we want to have any say in how it's developed and used.
It's not just about using AI, it's about understanding how it's affecting society and shaping the future of this technology.
Absolutely. And speaking of impact, let's talk about one of the most powerful AI tools out there, DALL-E3, that image-generating AI.
Oh, yes, DALL-E3. I was really intrigued by the study in the book where first graders used it to learn about cities.
Yeah, that one's really fascinating. Basically, the kids would learn about things like buildings, roads, and parks. And then they would use DALL-E3 to create pictures of their own cities.
Oh, wow. I can imagine those little cityscapes.
I know, right?
So what did the researchers learn from that?
Well, they found that the act of creating those pictures actually helped the kids figure out what they didn't quite understand yet, and it made them refine their thinking.
Mm.
So, for example, if the picture DALL-E3 made didn't match what they had in their heads, it would prompt them to go back and rethink things.
So the AI was like a feedback loop, helping them to learn.
Exactly. It turned out to be a really effective way to promote self-directed learning, even for these young students.
Oh, wow. That's great. It really shows that AI can be used in creative and engaging ways to help students take charge of their learning.
It can. And on top of that, the study found that using DALL-E3 helped with creativity and problem-solving skills.
Absolutely. Imagine trying to describe your idea for a city and then seeing how DALL-E3 interprets those words.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's a fun way to learn about language and how to communicate your ideas.
It is. So we talked about the potential of AI in research and how it's changing teacher training. And we've even seen how tools like DALL-E3 can be used in creative ways in the classroom.
Yeah. So many possibilities.
Yeah, but now I want to dive into a topic that I know a lot of teachers are interested in. Automatic grading.
Ah, yes. Automatic grading. I was wondering when we'd get to that. It's definitely one of the most talked about applications of AI in education.
Oh, for sure.
The book specifically mentions using ChatGPT for automatic short answer grading, which I imagine could save teachers a ton of time. What did the research have to say about that?
Well, the study they looked at was specifically focused on the health sciences domain, and it compared ChatGPT's grading with human evaluators.
Oh, wow. So it was AI versus human graders. Who won?
The results were actually pretty impressive. When they gave ChatGPT clear grading rubrics or detailed examples of graded responses, it could achieve a high level of agreement with the human graders.
Wow, really? So the AI was basically learning how to grade based on what the humans were doing?
That's right. It was really interesting to see how well it could mimic human judgment when given the right kind of guidance.
Yeah, I bet a lot of teachers would be thrilled to have an AI assistant that could take over at least some of that grading workload.
I think so. It could free up so much time for teachers to do other things.
Exactly. More time for lesson planning, giving personalized feedback, or just taking a well-deserved break.
For sure. But even with all those potential benefits, I imagine there are still some concerns about using AI for grading, right?
Right. What kind of concerns?
Well, bias is a big one. If the AI is trained on data that already has bias in grading, it could make those biases even worse. We need to be really careful about the data we're using to train these systems.
We don't want to just replace human bias with AI bias.
Definitely not. Another worry is that students might figure out how to trick the system, writing answers that will get a good grade from the AI, even if they don't really get the material.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So it's important to be aware of those potential loopholes and figure out ways to prevent them.
What else should we be thinking about when it comes to AI and grading?
Transparency is super important.
Okay.
Students should know that their work is being graded by an AI, and they should have a basic understanding of how it works.
That's a good point. Transparency helps build trust and make sure the AI is being used fairly.
Exactly. And it's worth noting that the research on automatic grading is still pretty new. There's a lot more work to be done to fully understand what it can do and what its limits are.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in all the excitement about AI in education, but we need to approach it carefully and keep thinking critically.
It's a powerful technology, but it's not a magic solution.
It's not going to solve every problem. Okay, so in this part of our deep dive, we've gone from the thoughts of future teachers to the possibilities of AI-powered tools like DLE3, and we've even talked about the potential of automatic grading. But before we go to the final part, where we wrap everything up with some key takeaways and thoughts on the future, I have another question for you, listener. What do you think is the biggest challenge we face in making sure AI is used responsibly and well in education?
We'll be back soon with our final thoughts or reflections. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring how AI is changing things up in education, from personalized learning to AI-powered research and even automatic grading.
And we've talked about how important AI literacy is. Approaching this whole AI thing with enthusiasm, but also a critical eye.
Right. We've covered a ton. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure we hit the key takeaways from our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
So what are the big things we need to remember about AI in education?
I think the most crucial thing to remember is that AI isn't a magic solution for every problem in education.
Right. It's not a cure-all.
It's a tool. And like any tool, it can be used effectively or ineffectively.
Right. It all depends on how we use it.
We need to be thoughtful about how we bring AI into education. Make sure it aligns with our values and goals for education.
It's got to fit into the bigger picture.
Exactly. And we also need to remember that AI in education isn't just about the technology itself.
Right. It's about people.
It's about the teachers, the students, and the communities they're a part of.
It's about the human element.
Exactly. Technology should help people and make those human connections even stronger, not replace them.
That's such an important point. And this brings us back to the importance of AI literacy.
Yes, it does.
We need to give everyone, not just tech experts, the knowledge and skills to understand and navigate this world that's becoming more and more AI-driven.
Right. AI isn't just happening in some far-off tech world.
Yeah.
It's affecting all our lives, including the way we learn and teach.
Absolutely. So looking ahead to the future of AI in education, what are you most excited about? And what are you most concerned about?
Honestly, what excites me most is the potential for AI to create truly personalized learning for every student, no matter their background or how they learn best.
Wow. Yeah, that's a powerful vision.
It is. Imagine a world where every student has this personalized learning path, adapted to their individual needs, helping them achieve their full potential.
That would be incredible.
It would be. That's a future I really want to see.
Yeah, me too. But along with all that excitement, I imagine there's also some caution, right?
Of course. We can't ignore the potential risks of AI.
Yeah.
Like, it could accidentally make existing inequalities worse or even weaken those human connections in learning.
Right. We have to be aware of those possibilities.
We do. We have to make sure that AI is used to help human teaching and learning, not replace or diminish it.
It's about finding that balance.
It is. It's a delicate balance and one we have to navigate carefully.
Well said. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into AI in education, what's the one message you want our listeners to take away?
I think the book's closing quote says it perfectly. The speed at which AI has unpredictably progressed exceeds the speed of our ethical institutions in regulating what has been created out of artificial intelligence.
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
It is. And it reminds us that we can't just wait and see what happens with AI in education. We need to be proactive in shaping how it develops and how it's used.
We can't be passive bystanders.
Exactly. We have to ask those hard questions, have open and honest conversations, and make sure that AI is being developed and used in a way that reflects our values.
We have to make sure that AI is serving humanity, not the other way around.
Absolutely.
And that's something we all have a part in.
It is. It is. Now, listeners, we want to hear from you. What are your biggest hopes and concerns about AI in education? What do you think its role should be in shaping how we learn in the future?
Share your thoughts on social media. Let's keep talking about this important topic.
Because the future of AI in education isn't going to be decided by just tech companies or policymakers. It's something we all need to shape together.
It's a collective effort.
It is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking those important questions.